Hello, my name's Kurt Lovelace. I've been in practice here in Lubbock, Texas for over 30 years, and we're doing a series of talks about dental disease just for the education of our patients. And one of the questions I get asked on a pretty regular basis in my office is, why do my teeth get cavities? And so let's talk a little bit about where the disease, it's called dental caries, comes from, how it happens, and how it's prevented. When I was in dental school, there was a lot of people saying, why do you want to be a dentist? Because once here over the next few years, they're going to develop a vaccine that's going to prevent dental caries and you won't have a job anymore. Well, here we are in 2016 and that has not happened. And the reason it hadn't happened is because it's a very complex process. It's not really all that easy to get a tooth to decay, although for some people it seems like it's pretty simple. So let me talk a little bit about what it takes to cause a cavity on a tooth. There are four basic factors, and they're on the board behind me. You've got sugar, you've got bugs, which are the bacteria that inhabit our mouth, you've got teeth, which are covered with a substance called enamel, and you have time. So I'm going to talk about each one of these individually. Let's talk about sugar first. Sugar, simple sugars, sucrose, dextrose, fructose, glucose, are all found in a lot of our foods. In America, we've got a very sweet tooth, and so all our foods, it seems like, has some form of sugar. The most notable would be processed cereals and donuts and sweets and chocolates and candy. More recently, and maybe even more detrimental, are sports drinks and energy drinks. Those simple sugars are what feed the bacteria in our mouth. And as they break down in our mouth, which that's part of why the bacteria are there, is to help us digest our food, they break down into mild acids. So the second thing that is a very important part of the dental caries process is bugs. Is the bacteria that live in our mouth, and basically their food are those simple sugars. They metabolize them and they form these mild acids, but they also form something else that's called a biofilm. The biofilm covers the tooth, covers the bacteria, and the reason they have that is really for their protection. As they develop a colony and become more organized, those biofilms give them some protection from things that might want to harm them. So inside that biofilm, we see the pH of the environment in there drop because of those acids. And since that biofilm is right next to the tooth, that starts to demineralize the tooth, which brings us to our third part of the dental caries puzzle, and that's the enamel on our teeth. Now, there's a lot of folklore and a lot of wives' tales about enamel and how enamel fights cavities in our teeth. There really is no such thing as soft enamel. Enamel's a mineral, and it pretty much is as it is. Now, if it has a biofilm with bacteria and the mild acids that are underneath it, against it, it begins to demineralize, and it does become softer. And when it does, that's when a cavity begins. The last factor is time. The longer that biofilm and those acids sit against that tooth, the more damage it can do. So let's talk a little bit about what you do about dental caries. And this is probably the most important part. Number one, you've got to watch the number of simple sugars that you have in your diet, particularly soft drinks, energy drinks, sports drinks that have the majority of these sugars in them. And as a matter of fact, there's another part of those drinks that makes them a little bit more detrimental, and that is they're all very acidic. Most of them have citrus fruit flavors to them, and that tart flavor that you get in your mouth is because of the acid. So the lower the pH, the more susceptible the tooth is for cavities developing. So limiting the amount of the sugars in our diet is really important. The second thing has to do with the bugs, the bacteria and the biofilms. What do we do about that? Well, that's brushing and flossing. By going in and brushing and flossing once a day, we disrupt those bacterial colonies, we disrupt the biofilms, and prevent them from sitting against the tooth with those mild acids that they're producing. Actually, a new product on the market that I'm really excited about are the ultrasonic toothbrushes. What do? They disrupt biofilms. They're very effective at it, and I would highly recommend them. So the third thing is our enamel. What do we do about strengthening our enamel? That's where fluoride comes in. Fluoride topically in gels and rinses will help remineralize our teeth from the attacks of the acid on them that are underneath those biofilms. The other thing is community fluoridation has been shown to reduce caries in an area, particularly in children, as much as 50%. And so community fluoridation is a very important part of preventing tooth decay. The time issue, what do we do about it in dentistry? That's about getting your teeth cleaned periodically. We recommend twice a year. For some people more than that. For some people maybe a little less. Kind of depends on your physiology and what your needs are. So just to kind of recap, dental caries is a very preventable disease. If you're brushing and flossing each day, if you're conscious about the fluoride that you're putting on your teeth, if you're conscious about the sugar that you're eating every day, and if you visit your dentist on a regular basis, the research is in. It will cause your teeth to decay less.